Hi everybody, it is Julie and I am here with a Throwback Thursday vlog. Let's go. I am rereading We Were Liars by Lockhart. The back of this says, we are Sinclairs. No one is needy. No one is wrong. We live, at least in the summertime, on a private island off the coast of Massachusetts. Perhaps that's all you need to know, except that some of us are liars. This follows two girls, two boys, and Katie, I think, is the main character. A beautiful and distinguished family, a private island, a brilliant, damaged girl, a passionate political boy, a group of four friends, the liars, whose friendship turns destructive, a revolution, an accident, a secret, lies upon lies, true love, the truth. It follows these children only during the summer, so it kind of follows them through their youth, through their summers. The family at one point was well off, like the grandfather owns this island, and there's all these different estates on the island. The estates are kind of split up between the different like siblings and then their subsequent children. All you kind of know is that like things have changed between like one summer and the next. Things have changed a lot in this book. And when I read it the first time, I had no idea what was coming. There is like a plot twist in this. I didn't see it coming. I had no idea. Loved it. I really did, because it's a study in friendship. It's a study in this group of kids and kind of first loves. That vibe of summer where just things are different. Like when you have somewhere that you go away for the summer, it's a whole different you. And I loved this friend group. I was intrigued about the family dynamic because there's like all this like fighting between the siblings and a big focus on money because the money's kind of dwindling, and it's like family scandal. It was a 5-star read for me. This is a very, very polarizing book. If you don't like it, you really don't like it. Interested to see how I'm going to feel about it, knowing the plot twist. I think it'll be interesting to reread it. Let's jump in. I have my green pen. I tend to change the color of the pens that I use to annotate, kind of based off like the feel and the vibe of the book, and I just felt like green would work best for this one. I'm on chapter 8, which is not very far. It's 20 pages in. And so far we're just kind of getting an introduction to the characters. For those of you that do not know and have not watched this series before, there's going to be spoilers because I'm basically reacting to the book as I reread it. If you haven't read this yet, I suggest you read it. There's a map in here, but there's a couple people that have read this because I asked them to. They ended up really liking it. Family tree. It's a very descriptive writing. It says Johnny, he is bounce, effort, and snark. Mirren is sugar, curiosity, and rain. Then Gat came to spend the summers with us. Gat is Indian. His last name is Patil. His nose is dramatic, his mouth sweet, his skin deep brown, hair black and waving, body wired with energy. Gat seemed spring-loaded. He was contemplation and enthusiasm, ambition and strong coffee. I could have looked at him forever. I wrote our names in the sand, and that was the beginning of us. And they became the four liars. One day, I looked at Gat lying in the Claremont hammock with a book, and he seemed, well, like he was mine. Like he was my particular person. I got in the hammock next to him silently, took the pen out of his hand, and wrote Gat on the back of his left hand and Cadence on the back of his right. Her name's Cadence, but they call her Katie. I'm not talking about fate. I don't believe in destiny or soulmates or the supernatural. I just mean that we understood each other all the way. But we were only 14. I had never kissed a boy, and somehow we didn't label it love. Then summer 15, I came a week late. I walked to the kitchen door through the screen. Gat didn't see me at first. I saw Gat. I saw the rose in his hand, and in one moment, I did call it love. It was love, and it hit me so hard. And then she sees him put the rose into an envelope and send it to a girl that was his girlfriend, like, back home. So she left before he even saw her that time. He's very political. He's basically pointing out how, like, entitled they are because he spent his summer or some time in India, like, digging toilets because they didn't have toilets. And then here they are, like, owning an island. And he kind of is pointing that out, and she tells him to shut up, and he goes, I don't tell you to shut up, you know, I don't ever say that to you. And she said, it's good to look at the world the way you do, and when we say shut up, Gat, it isn't what we mean at all. What we mean is we love you, and you remind us that we're selfish bastards. I like the writing style, and I like the way that they're described, and Cadence is narrating this. You're seeing the characters through her eyes. She just loves them so much, and it's very real and very raw. It is Monday, the first official day after the Contemporary-a-thon, and I'm here with a reading update. I am this far into We Were Liars, which is page 88. Katie's back on the island. She doesn't remember why, but she went swimming, kind of, I guess, got knocked around by the waves and hit her head, had some brain injuries, which have now led to her having these, like, debilitating migraines and memory loss. What she does know is that after that, she lost touch with Mirren and Johnny and Gat. They didn't really respond to emails, they didn't respond to her phone calls, and she's really confused by that. 2 summers pass where she doesn't go back to the island for the summers. One summer she just wasn't feeling well enough. The following summer she went with her dad, who her mom and dad are divorced. She went with her dad to Europe. So she hasn't been on the island in a really long time. And she finally puts her foot down. She said, no, I want to go back. And the aunts are there, her cousins are there, Mirren and Johnny and Gat are there. She's kind of struggling with the fact that they kind of ghosted her and weren't around when she needed them. And then also just her mom instilling this like really unhealthy mentality of like putting on a smile and dealing with it and being stronger and being better and burying feelings. Her grandmother has passed. The mom's just like, we don't talk about it. It makes grandpa sad to talk about her, so we're just going to like just never mention her again. We can't talk about her. They really only talk during the summer. They don't talk during the school year. They've tried before in the past, but just life is different during the school year. They really just reconnect at the beach and at this summer home, just reconnecting and reforming that bond, and it's really cute. Obviously, if you guys are watching this, you've either read this book or you don't care about being spoiled. I don't remember all the details, but I know that there was a fire. The main house on the island has been renovated and the dogs have died, and none of those kind of triggered me like, oh, the dogs are dead. Like, well, dogs die. Oh, the house got redone. Well, houses get redone. Don't remember what the details were, but the kids, the 4 kids, setting fire to the house. Like, they were going to burn the house down, and they were all supposed to like exit through a certain way, but like a door gets locked, and Gat and Mirren and Johnny are dead. That's why they didn't answer her. That's why the voicemail's full. That's why they're not answering emails. That's why they haven't talked to her. That's why she's having these memory problems, is that she blocked it because she's the only one that made it out. And the family's just destroyed, and the grandfather had to rebuild the house because they burnt down the house, and the dogs died because they were in the fire. The twist is that these kids are dead, and she's here like reconnecting with them because that's where they are to her. Like, that's where they are for her, is on this island. They basically are trying to get her to a place where she can remember that they're gone. She asks every day what happened, why she can't remember. And then her mom would tell her that they're dead and that they died in the fire and that she's the only one that got out. Her mind couldn't handle it. She would block it out and ask the next day. And every day, her mom would have to relive the fact that her niece and nephew and their family friend were dead. And she'd have to watch Cadence kind of deal with that and cope with that every day and then ask the next day. I didn't see that twist coming at all, and I think it's written in a way where you really don't piece it together. Rereading this now, I can kind of see the little shifts. You're not really seeing that like nobody else is interacting with these characters except for her. Johnny and Mirren and Gat are still talking as if time has passed, and Mirren is talking about the fact that she has this boyfriend that she's had sex with, and they'll talk about it later. There is a progression in their characters being written even as ghosts or as figments of her mind. Reading it knowing the twist is really interesting, but it doesn't lessen the fact that I'm still really loving it, and it doesn't lessen the fact that I freaking love Gat, and he is just so adorable and so sweet, and he goes to try to talk to her, and she gets really pissed at him. She was like, you disappeared for 2 years and there's no excuse for that. And he's like, all right, this is going really poorly. I'm going to run away now. Don't take it personally. We're going to try this again later. And he's like, I'm going to leave. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to run because walking is too pathetic. And she was like, go ahead. I'll see you later. And he's just so cute. He really is so amazing. I love them and I love their friendship. The aunts and the mom really drinking heavily and the cousins kind of calling her crazy does make a lot more sense now, knowing what happened and the trauma that happened to the family. It does make these little moments when she's back on the island and reconnecting with them, it makes them heartbreaking to read because I know that it's them just trying to get her to finally accept that they're gone, and watching her kind of fall back into this carefree life that they had on the island, and watching her fall back in love with Gat every time she sees him. It's heartbreaking because I know they're gone. Like I know they're not really there, and I know I'm gonna cry this time too, because now rereading this I want to cry every time I see these characters interact with her, because every time it's so adorable, and every time now I know it's not real. So if anything, I'm more emotional rereading it. I'm gonna go keep reading. I'm now further along in my read. I'm on page 122. So she's talking about how she was like in Rome, but the whole time she was puking and she was sick, and they're like, you know, I wish I could go to Rome. Like, you're asking us not to feel sorry for you for being sick, but then you're like telling us about being in Rome and complaining about it, and like, I wish I could go there. And then she was like, well, you guys can go there. And they're like, it's not that easy. Katie's asking Mirren, like, what did I ever do? Like, why did he stop talking to me? Like, I don't understand what happened. Why did he disappear after my accident? She goes, I don't know. Did he go back with Raquel? I don't know. Did we fight? Did I do something wrong? I don't know. Got upset with me a few nights back about not knowing the names of stuff and not having seen his apartment in New York. And she said, Mirren tells her he has good reason to be mad. She says, what did I do? Mirren sighs and says, you can't fix it. They're up on the roof and she's asking if they ever plan their funeral. Mirren says, you know, I used to plan my wedding. And then Mirren's like, you should really be planning your wedding, not your funeral. Stop being so, like, morose and depressing. Life feels beautiful that day. The four of us liars. We have always been, we always will be. The island is ours, and here in some way we are young forever. And I just know she's gonna keep remembering, and I know what's coming, and they're having these conversations. It's heartbreaking. Reading it the first time, it was like a soul-crushing like twist. Like, it really, really got me. But reading it the second time, knowing what's happening and seeing all these nuances and conversations, it's legitimately really tough to read. Like, it's breaking my heart. I think that you have to be invested in the characters. It's so character driven. I think for a lot of people, Cadence is just like not redeemable. It's hard because she is entitled and she is spoiled. So when you have her kind of complaining about these kinds of things, even though she had this trauma and has these migraines and has all these like memory issues, people don't connect with her enough to like care about it. And then the twist comes and then they stop feeling sorry for her about everything that happened. And then rereading this and knowing it and kind of seeing the way that she's treating them and not being very forgiving. Like, not every character is likable. Like, not every character is gonna be like fantastic. And she's a teenager. Like, everybody's kind of bratty and entitled and self-centered as a teenager. I'm such a bleeding heart, so it's just like, it's hard for me to read this. Like, it feels so much worse the second time around knowing what's coming. I've decided that it's the night for me to finish We Were Liars. Tomorrow I will probably do a wrap-up of my final thoughts, but I wanted to at least vlog while I was finishing the book now because I know it's going to get emotional. Getting towards the end where Katie is starting to remember what happened the night of the fire and starting to piece things together, and Gat is saying that he shouldn't have kissed her and he shouldn't have rekindled their relationship, and he was hoping that she'd kind of come to her own, remember things on her own, and that they've just kind of been working. And he's like, I think we have been telling you, I just don't think you've been hearing us. And she's remembering waking up with burns on her hands and her feet. And this particular storytelling premise is actually what inspired a good number of the storytelling in Shoot Down the Wendy Bird, which is flash fiction, so it's much easier to conceal a twist. I tried to kind of do what E. Lockhart did and conceal different plot twists in some of those short stories. And I know I didn't do it anywhere near as well as she did in this particular one, but I know that this particular book definitely inspired me to write some stories the way that I did in Shoot Down the Wendy Bird because of how deeply I felt about this particular story. I'm a little bit nervous going into the last 25 pages, but I'm going to read them. I'll vlog it, and then I'll do a wrap-up of all my final thoughts tomorrow when I have makeup on during like my filming day. She realizes what she did and what happened, and she's kind of going over each person and what they lost and what their death means. And Johnny's sense of what was right. He gave up his college fund without a second thought to stand up for his principles. I think of Johnny's strong arms and his stripe of white sunblock on his nose and the time we were sick together from poison ivy and lay on the hammock with each other scratching. Jonathan Sinclair Dennis, you would have been a light in the dark for so many people. You have been one. You have. And I've let you down in the worst possible way. I cry for Mirren, who didn't know how she wanted to live or what she believed in yet, but she was searching. Mirren will never have a wedding with the yellow roses or a groom who loves her enough to wear a stupid yellow cummerbund. She was irritable and bossy, and then felt immediate guilt over that. Mirren, I can't even say sorry. There is not even a Scrabble word for how bad I feel. And Gat, my Gat, that hungry mind, constantly turning things over, looking not for answers but for understanding. He will never satisfy his curiosity, never finish the 100 best novels ever written, never be the great man he might have been. He wanted to stop evil. He wanted to express his anger. He lived big, my brave cat. He didn't shut up when people wanted him to. He made them listen, then he listened in return. And oh, he made me laugh, made me think even when I didn't feel like thinking, even when I was too lazy to pay attention. Cat let me bleed on him and bleed on him and bleed on him. He never minded. He wanted to know why I was bleeding and wondered what he could do to heal the wound. I loved him. I love him as best I could, but he was right. I did not know him all the way. I will never see his apartment or eat his mother's cooking, meet his friends from school. I never went home with him, never saw his life, never knew the person Cat was when not on Beechwood Island. He's been dead 2 years. We might have been. I have lost you, Cat, because of how desperately I fell in love. I think of my liars burning in their last few minutes, breathing smoke, their skin alight, how much it must have hurt. Mirren's hair in flames, Johnny's body on the floor, Gat's hands, his fingertips burnt, his arms shriveling with fire. And on the back of his hands, the words. On the left, Gat, and on the right, Cadence. My handwriting. And I cry because I'm the only one of us still alive, because I will have to go through life without the liars, because they will have to go through whatever awaits them without me. We have been here this summer. We have not been here. Like, come on. It's my fault, and yet they love me anyway. They have said they love me. I have felt it in Gat's kiss, and in Johnny's laugh, and in Mirren's shout across the sea. I guess that's why they've been here. I needed them. I still have to finish this. That's not even the end. I'm done. Like I said, I'm gonna wait until tomorrow when I have makeup on to give you my full thoughts on the book. I gave this 5 stars when I first read it. Spoiler alert. Still giving it 5 stars. I am here with my final wrap up and thoughts on We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I woke up this morning super puffy, needed to do makeup so that I could sit down and film a whole bunch of other videos, but also just to look alive because man did this wreck me all over again. You guys saw me read some stuff out of here while I was bawling towards the end, and there are a couple more lines that I thought were worth going over. Guys, I'm not even kidding you. These pages, like the next day, are like wrinkled with tears. We get to the point where she has acknowledged that yes, the other liars have died and that she was the cause of this fire. So she goes down to Cuddletown, which is where the ghosts have kind of been the entire summer and why it's been so desolate and uncared for. And Johnny finds her and says, you remembered? And she says, yes, you know, I remember everything. And he says, I can't stay much longer. It's getting harder and harder. And she said, where will you go? And he goes, where you go when you're not here, just kind of into nothing. He says, honestly, Katie, I love you, but I am so fucking tired. This happened a long time ago for me. And she says that she's sorry. And he says, it's not your fault. We all did it. We all went crazy. We all have to take responsibility. You shouldn't carry the weight of it. Be sad and be sorry, but don't carry this with you. And then Mirren says, I want to be an accepting person, but I am still very, very angry about what happened. And she has a very different reaction. And Katie says, that's fine. That's who you are. I accept that. And she's crying and doesn't want them to leave. And they end up, the way that they leave her is by kind of like shedding their clothes. I think Mirren gets down to a bikini and Johnny just takes off his shoes and shirt and they go into the ocean and they swim out to the horizon and dive down and they're gone. And then Gat is there down at the beach also waiting and they kind of say goodbye, but like, God guys, I don't want to cry because I have makeup on and I have to do other filming. Gat is there waiting for us, his profile against the lit sky, and I will see it forever like that. He turns and smiles at me, runs and picks me up, swinging me around as if there's something to celebrate, as if we're a happy couple in love on the beach. And she kind of says, like, I can't believe they're leaving me, but of course they're dead already. They've been dead already. She said, the children died in a fire. Tragedy marked the end of the family, and perhaps it did, but perhaps it did not. Tragedy is ugly, tangled, stupid, and confusing. My full name is Cadence Sinclair Eastman. I'm nearly 18 years old. I own a well-used library card, an envelope full of dried beach roses, a book of fairy tales, and a handful of lovely purple rocks. Here's what's true. Is that I fell in love with somebody and he died along with 2 other people I loved best in the world. That has been the main thing to know about me, but there must be more to know. There will be more. I endure. And also what I didn't get into in my like emotional like whole thing was like how much the siblings, her mom and the aunts were fighting over like, I was here to take care of mom when she was sick. I was here to take dad to his appointments. I'm the one that gets stuck with all of this. And because I am here for our parents, I deserve the better house. Like, I deserve this, I deserve that. And just how greedy and horrible and hateful the kids were towards their parents and how manipulative the father was about the fact that he was looming this inheritance over them and controlled them that way and how manipulative that was. And not that any of that justifies what they did, but the kids were like, this house is the representation of like all this greed and horrible hate, and that's what really motivated them to go ahead and like set it aflame, was like, maybe if this isn't here, we can actually be a family and not be so focused on money and inheritance and who gets what house. And then I think after the fact, they kind of appreciate family more and they appreciate what they have more, and that's not there anymore, but that like should never be the way that you learn that. End thoughts, still 5 out of 5 stars. I still really loved it. I still love Cadence as like an unlikable person. From a psychology standpoint on grief and the way that your mind blocks out what you can't handle, I really loved looking at it. From a family standpoint and looking at the family dynamic, I really loved it. Rereading it and seeing the way that things unraveled and unfolded and the clues that were kind of given was great. In the end, I loved this the first time around, and I understand it's polarizing. Not everybody loved it. Some people saw the twist coming, and I definitely did not. I just think it's so real and so raw and so totally and utterly heartbreaking. And I was worried that knowing what came at the end upon reading it a second time, I didn't think I was going to like it as much. And I realized I still do, like, just as much, and it's actually kind of a little bit more heartbreaking because as you read through, you know what's coming. Still totally soul-shattering. If you read this a while back and you were interested in knowing what you would think of it upon reread, knowing what you know now, don't shy away from it. I think it's worth rereading again. I still love it just as much. And I can see the flaws in the characters, but the flaws in the characters are what make me still love it and give it a 5-star rating. I was deeply emotionally connected to it the first time, and I'm still deeply connected to it now. It still remains one of my favorites, and I'm so glad it's still one of my favorites because you guys know I read One Day by David Nichols and really, really loved it. And upon reread, it went from like a 5 to a 3-star, and I didn't love it as much. This one stayed 5, and I'm so glad that it did because I was passionately in love with this the first time around, and I'm glad that I'm still passionately in love with it. So, total win for Throwback Thursday, guys. That is it for this particular Throwback Thursday. If you guys are excited that the series is back again, even if it's just tentative every couple of months, definitely let me know. If you have a book that you know I've read that you'd be interested in my reread thoughts on, let me know. But you guys, I already have a video of books I want to reread this year, so check that out first. Look for those books in potential Throwback Thursdays because if I'm rereading them, there's no reason not to vlog them. This was amazing. Amazing. So, if you watched this whole thing and you haven't already read it, how dare you? But also, go reread this, because it's great. And if you watched this and got spoiled, go read it anyway, because being spoiled for it did not mean it broke my heart any less. I love you guys. That's it for this video. If you liked it, give me a big thumbs up, click subscribe, and I will see all of you in my next one. Bye, guys.